Hello everyone and welcome again. We're in for a real treat tonight. I know I say that a lot, but I'm just so excited with all the people who are joining us. We have got some great authors, some great chefs. It's absolutely stunning and yeah, it's brilliant. So I just wanted to share with you. At the Cookbook Festival, we've got a website and we're updating our website slowly because we're a charity and we do it all ourselves. And so if you go onto our website, you can find out more about all the people that we've interviewed. But if you also go back on this, you can see, watch the IGTVs of Endo at the Rotunda, who's the Michelin star Japanese chef, Rupa Gulti, who's written India, A Year in Vegetarian, which is going to be an amazing book. She's had some great reviews so far of it. And oh, Tara, you're there, I can see you. If you ask to join me, and then I've sent you a request, and then we can connect. We've also had Alistair Little, who has, from Australia, the godfather of cooking, and you can order food from him. Oh, here we are, we've got this going. I can see she's been very busy doing this recently. And Sammy Tamimi, who Tara co-wrote the book with, and also Joe Pratt. Hello. Hello.
Tara's tech support.
There we go.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Very exciting.
I did that thing of looking at the clock and yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. Sorry, what are you in the middle of making?
No, I'm not. The kids are sitting outside with a picnic. The aubergines are burnt. It's all good. Everything's fine.
It's all good. Can I just introduce you, Tara?
Yeah.
So this is Tara Wigley, who I have to say I think possibly has the best job in food at the moment. She's one very, very lucky chef, and has done this amazing book called Palestine with Sami Tamimi, and is part of the Otto Lengi family cult. I've heard you refer to it.
Yeah, the family that no one ever leaves. But no one ever leaves family, I guess. It's the ultimate definition of family.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And I have to say, both Yotam and Sami, I didn't realise that they were both partners and one was just front and one was back. But also it's just fascinating because they seem such nice people.
They are really nice people, which is the reason that no one ever leaves. But they're not partners. They're
no, I mean business partners. No,
they're business partners. And yeah, I don't know if they describe themselves as kind of front and back, although Yotam is obviously more the face of Ottolenghi. Also, I always slightly cringe when my husband describes me as a chef because I'm absolutely not a chef. And he said, "What are you?"
Let's talk about your journey because it's fascinating. So you worked in publishing, you worked for an agent, and then you worked for Simon and Schuster. So when you were doing that, did you ever work on any food books?
No, I was in the fiction department. I was a sort of junior editor, very junior in my 20s. And no, nothing to do with food. I was kind of just a home cook and a big fan of food. Even at Simon and Schuster, I used to sort of go in with my sort of massive Tupperwares and of food. And I always used to say to Chris, everyone's spending so much money on their lunch break. And he would point out that just because I put it in Tupperware doesn't actually make it free. So no, just reading, that was fiction. And then we moved abroad for a couple of years. But I carried on my job as a reader for agents in London. And then when we came back, I had twins. And it was then that I did the change. And I think I thought that thought that I could fit cooking in around sort of little people, and just hadn't really thought through the logistics of it, which is a key part of my journey throughout, is not thinking too much about the logistics. And then when they were 18 months old, Christian, you just close that door. Yeah. And then.
So they were 18 months old, and you went off to Ireland to Ballymaloe.
Yeah, so I was all signed up to do a 2-year teacher training program, and thought that I could be a teacher, and then realised that would be an awful idea and I'd be a really bad teacher because I'm really controlling and perfectionist, which you can kind of do with words and food, but doesn't really work with kids and sort of students. So, and I remember making a big meal with with a friend of mine for my parents, and she said, "God, can you imagine doing this every day?" And I just went, oh, "My goodness!" And I hadn't sort of crossed my mind that I could do that. So I, yeah, and then found Ballymaloe, which was the perfect amount of time. I love the 3-month sort of intense period rather than, I mean, the 12-month Leith course would be amazing, of course, but that's a whole year and very expensive. So I went off to Ireland with these 2 little 18-month-olds and this great big dog that we brought back from Bosnia.
And your husband worked somewhere else or stayed in England?
He was he was in London working, which was a big deal for him.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's 2 or 3 weeks is a long time in the world of a little people. And it was also the time there was an ash cloud over Europe. So he used to fly to Ireland, but then he used to spend about 4 days getting home on ferries and buses because there was no So then after the 3 months, it was time to come home, having had the absolute time of my life. And Ballymaloe should be on everyone's bucket list if they can make it work, because it's completely hermetically sealed haven. Have you been to?
I have been there, and it's fantastic. It's beyond everything. It's the Alice Walters of Ireland. Darina Allen is.
It is. I used to have to go to Tesco's once a week just to get a reality check, just to kind of confirm this wasn't my life, and I didn't kind of, you know, these recipes where you have to just go and get a bucket of seawater to cook your pasta in, because that was the sort of the precisely as salty as it should be. But it was amazing. And I remember when I first met Darina, I sort of actually took a few days to kind of, like, she grew on me. The more Darina I got, the more I just was in awe of her, just her, you know, her tour de force and her energy, and her making all these students believe that they can do anything, and that they should come and do this course without any sort of fixed plan about what they should do, and then just do as much as they can and take it all in, and then once they leave, just sort of shoot in all directions, which is what I did. And
when you leave, do they give you do they have an agency where they farm you out to jobs? Do they hold your hand a lot, or is it like you're prepared now, off you go, but phone us if you want?
The latter, I'd say. I mean, Darina Allen's little black book is pretty massive, I'd say. And you know, getting hold of people's email addresses or writing to people isn't necessarily difficult, but I'm not sure anyone would think to do it unless Darina says, just email them, just email your town, just email this person. And I think everyone always thinks they're sort of annoying or that people are inundated with people getting in touch with them. And that might be true, but people aren't inundated with really great letters and contacts. So I'd say anyone, never underestimate the power of writing a letter or sending an email. So no, she sends you out into the world, and then moves on to her other kind of chicks that she's mother henning, but with a whole lot of confidence, and also just blissful ignorance, because she sends you out with blissful ignorance. So just go, just do it. Don't think about logistics. It'll be grand. It'll be fine.
But that's so lovely, because as a young person, that's the future forward, isn't it? Be brave, be bold, and knock on people's doors. Write that email. Yeah, and shoot in all directions, and be flexible to sort of have a plan, but also be receptive to a completely different idea. And the joy of somewhere like Ballymaloe is everyone comes with such different interests, whether it's photography or cheese making or opening a little cafe or food writing or wine tasting, and it's just magic. And then I think people probably leave probably more confused than they arrive, but that's again a good thing if you then shoot in all directions and then just get cracking. And then I worked in restaurants for about 6 months before I looked around and realized that there was no other young mums in kitchens, and there was probably a pretty good reason for that, because it's completely unpractical. So then I had a bit of an existential crisis, actually, and I thought, God, what am I doing? I've sort of retrained, got these little 2-year-olds, and I was also paying for some childcare at that time, because it's that sort of chicken and egg that you can't get a job unless you
blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And I went for an interview at Noppi, which was just opening at the time, the Ottolenghi restaurant, and had a really great chat with Sarit Packer, who's now Honey and Co.
Honey and Co.
And she was she was brilliant. She said, I just don't see how you're trying to make it work. Like, it's just not logistically possible. It's very difficult to work in a kitchen and have a little 2-year-old. So why don't you just ease down a bit and take your time and just go and kind of do something else for a little bit. But you're cool, like it'll all be fine. So I went home and thought, shit, what am I doing? And then I was sort of filling up people's fridges and freezers in Stoke Newington for a few weeks. If people had babies, they'd kind of get vouchers and I'd make soup and sort of stuff to put in people's freezers.
Nice fresh food.
Then I just got a phone call from Yotam, who just happened to be looking for someone who could help him out with the sort of creation of and writing of the Guardian columns that he was currently doing in his home. And he was looking for someone who, and this is why I'm not a chef, he was looking for someone who loved food and cooking, but was more of a home cook, but also had a sort of ability or way with words. And I was just that lucky person to be kind of falling between these two stools.
It's absolutely fantastic. You're very lucky. And I also think it's very good of them that they always seem to co-write their books, or they share it with someone else. It's not just them and it's all me. They're very happy to introduce other people who work with them as part of their company and share the glory. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's a massive thing. And also anyone who's involved in food and the creation of recipes is by nature quite controlling of the dish. And so for Yotam to let go and trust his team is a massive thing. And even to this day, every time he's always trying to sort of share it and sort of talk about the team. But the reason the team stay with him is because of that, and because he'll say thank you to whoever you are and kind of see you and acknowledge it. So yeah, just this kind of basic thing.
That's a lovely quality to have, especially in this busy day and age. And also they employ a lot of women as well, don't they? Which is great to see, because there are some places in the past that just didn't really look at women, but they now have a completely fair opportunity, which is great.
Well, so, the hidden force behind the Ottolenghi Empire is a woman called Cornelia. So she's our queen, and she keeps everyone in check.
Oh, well, that's good. How many people do they employ roughly? Off the top of your head?
Right, I would say 120, 130.
Yeah.
But that might not be correct, because I'm in a test kitchen with sort of 8 or 9 people, and I'm not in the restaurants or the cafes or in the back office.
But before you were in the test kitchen, you were actually working out of Yotam's flat. And you were going off shopping, getting home, doing all the mise en place, and then he would bounce up and you would test together, and you would obviously write and say, no, housewives can't do it like this, or whatever.
Home cooks, I prefer to play it. Absolutely. The most nerve-wracking part of that job was driving his electric car that I had absolutely no idea how to do. And I'd go off to Westfield, and it was such a sort of small little operation. It's amazing. That was 10 years ago. And it's amazing now to think of the number of books that have sort of come since then, and the growth of the test kitchen. But yeah, so Yotam would be at his table writing away, and then he would jump up, and again, looking back now, sort of slightly didn't know what I was doing, slightly didn't know what he was doing, but just
but you grew together.
It grew together, and then yeah, my husband was always very happy that Yotam was married to a man. The sort of intimate thing of going to someone's beautiful flat in sort of West London every day. And then we always send our recipes. We've had the same recipe blind tester since day one, Claudine, who Yotam met at Leeds when he was doing a demo. So we do all our tests, and the recipe will go through sort of 3 or 4 tests. And then it's always sent off to Claudine, who's kids are probably the best fed kids in the UK, and they eat absolutely everything because she's sort of amazing, and then she gives them the sign off, and then they go. So that's another secret behind the success of Ottolenghi recipes, is this sort of this fact that they work and they're reliable, and that if you follow them,
Yeah.
they do work because they've gone through a massive process.
Yeah, no, and that's brilliant. So tell us about your book, Palestine. So you have taken Sammy and all his knowledge and gone out to the Bethlehem and that region, but you've made them more approachable for the home cook.
Absolutely. Yes, I think as Sammy said on Monday, we didn't want it to be full of recipes that people wouldn't cook, either because they took sort of half a day, or because they had recipes or ingredients that that you just wouldn't be able to get hold of, or and yeah, that's absolutely, like, every recipe has to be fresh and something that you can come home and cook on a Monday night. But we've also got the definitive sort of big sort of Palestinian dishes as well, and stuff that does take a while, the kind of upside down makluba, or the chicken shawarma pie, which actually a lot of people are cooking in lockdown. So there are kind of big dishes, but there's also salmon skewers and aubergine bakes and quick things. And that was just a really nice energy sort of difference between Sammy and I, because he came with a lot of sense of duty and obligation to the traditional version, and then me along very much with Noor, who's in the test kitchen, who's from Bahrain, who's an amazing cook, and she added a lot to the recipes in the book. It was a real process, but we've got the gift of time. It took sort of 2 years, so each recipe could really go through some changes,
some real journeys. And tell me, you visited that area 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Was that purely by accident, or because you have a fascination for it? Because I would find it really hard to get my head around the names of the dishes to begin with. They've obviously become used to
everyone still completely loves my pronunciation, but I sort of hold on to them because I feel like I'm the reader. I'm the Ottolenghi reader who's allowed to pronounce things completely wrong. Yeah. And so that's fine. But yeah, Sammy kind of gave up on me in that department. Well, I visited a buddy there who was doing a research project in Bethlehem, but I didn't. And then in the last 2 years, I've been lucky enough to go, I think, 5 times. Once with Cornelia on a culinary tour where we marched around Bethlehem, putting the world to rights and eating our body weight in tahini. And then I went with my husband to do what he thought was a culinary tour, but actually was the Bethlehem Marathon, but I didn't tell him that till we got there. And then I went with Sammy, I think, 3 times. So, yeah. And which was great because it's not a massive area. So if you go and explore, you'll really get a sense of it and really get the opportunity to meet people. I mean, you could go armed with a copy of Palestine and go and find the people that we've profiled in the book and meet. Because
you have woven in stories and words and food, so it's a journey, isn't it, as well as a useful tool in your kitchen?
It is. It really is, because I think people are often intimidated by their lack of knowledge about this area and feel very, very much like they can't ask questions in fear of sounding stupid, which was very much me 3 years ago. And I had a real sense of responsibility about words and what went right, because everything is, it's called Palestine, and is there a Palestine? What does it mean? And these sort of huge things. And then we very much didn't want to write the story of Palestine or even Sammy's story. And then we wanted to then write lots of stories, because you can talk about everything, or you can dispute everything, but you can't dispute the reality of someone's story today as they're living in Palestine. And we also wanted to give a sense of how much is going on there in terms of enterprise and energy surrounding food, and almost kind of redefine what the word refugee camp or the West Bank or the Gaza Strip means for readers. Because on one hand, it's what we read about in the news and here, but on the other hand, if you read about Islam in the Aida refugee camp, then you meet this brilliant, sort of exciting, successful, entrepreneurial lady, and so we've got 12 really quite in-depth profiles of people. So our hope is that you'll read Palestine and really feel like you can have a conversation, which is what it's all about, is stories and listening as well as
it's a sort of National Geographic come cookbook of an area that most people don't understand, and we're all a bit too scared to talk about it in case we say the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
Because we don't understand the politics and the sadness that they've had. So you must be absolute heroes back there now. And I just admire you for taking on the language and the understanding of it all, because you must have had sort of tread very carefully to begin with.
And it's yeah, it was huge. It was huge, and I was completely out of my comfort zone, coming off the back of Simple, which was such a kind of simple, fun, joyous thing to make, and it was very much my language, and the narrative and the story being told was very. I just felt very comfortable with it, and I think my role as part of the Ottolenghi team is very much the person who kind of shapes the narrative or gets the kind of the hook of the book. And for Palestine, that was a much more intimidating process. But then it took a while to get over imposter syndrome and thinking, who am I to tell the story? And it took a while to get to the point of feeling confident and feeling as though yeah, just feeling confident about being the ones to tell this story.
Well, I think it's good though, because you are one of us and you're able to share the story, but with the authentic person. And so that's where it's a real gem. Tell me about the moments that you were not just testing, that they said, Tara, will you write this book and you're going to do it together and your name's going on the spine? Did that sort of evolve, or was it a big moment?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many big moments. I remember one of my I actually fell off my chair once when I was sitting in the Ottolenghi test kitchen. I think it wasn't Boxing Day, but it was the day after. I think it was the 27th of December, and I was going through the proofs of the Noppy cookbook, yes, which was the second book I worked on after Plenty More.
Lovely.
And then I turned to the first page of the proofs, and it said Yotam Ottolenghi and Ramel Scully, and then it said with Tara Wigley. And I hadn't asked for that, and I hadn't been expecting it, and I just fell off my chair. And as you say about Yotam, it's kind of, he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to acknowledge me. And I've never been called a ghost writer. I've never felt sort of, I've never felt, you know, Yotam's the real deal. But I was very much his writing collaborator, and we'd sort of write together, and the hope is that our voices are sort of indistinguishable on the page. But so that was a real moment, kind of with Tara Wigley. And then getting my name on the cover was massive. And it'll be even more massive when the bookshop's open and I can actually see it.
Yes.
Because at the moment it's sort of got this baby kind of out there. And although last week I was cycling down the road with my 8-year-old, and I saw someone on a doorstep handing a copy of Palestine to someone else from 2 meters away, and I just screeched. I was like, "You're the first person in real life I've seen sort of with it." So it'll feel even more real when I'm in a bookshop and I can sort of, you
can see it and you can go, "This is my baby. I made this with Sammy." That is just brilliant. And the sales must be going well though, because lots of people are ordering, and you've had just amazing reviews.
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah. We're not having kind of the fun in terms of publicizing it, but yeah, a lot of people are, because a lot of the recipes they're sort of both things. They're either pantry goods where there's a lot of kind of chickpeas and rice and grains and tahini, or you've got dishes that take a long time, like the shawarma pie I was talking about.
Yes.
And then there's also a lot of just very kind of simple, humble home cooking and aubergine bakes or quick eggs. So it is. People are picking from it.
Will you share with us your green shutter? Is it called? You see, I'm scared of saying things now.
Sammy calls me shatara because I eat so much of it. You can see it on. It's on the cut. This is the American cover here,
which is great.
This is one of my favorite dishes. It's a little gem salad with burnt aubergine. That's the red shutter. And then I can get my green shutter from the fridge. It's delicious. I mean, it's completely addictive, which is a problem. But where we go? Yeah, it's just super simple. So you just slice up sort of 250 grams of green chilies, and then put them in some Tupperware with a tablespoon of of table salt, and then let them ferment for 3 days. And then you blitz them up with some cider vinegar, 3 tablespoons of cider vinegar, and a tablespoon of lemon juice. And just delicious with everything: eggs, rice, lentils, chicken, salmon.
So it's like your green ketchup. You just eat
green.
it with everything. Yeah.
It
Oh, I'm going to make that, definitely. Cider vinegar, and what was the last ingredient?
And then just a tablespoon of lemon juice.
That's it, lemon juice.
And then just pop it in the pot, and then just seal it with smoil.
Yeah.
I was telling the kids today at lunch, everyone was sitting at lunch with various sauces like Pizza Express salad dressing and kept all this sort of sauces, and I was like, guys, can we just eat the food without the sauce? And then realised that my food was kind of smothered in shatter, so maybe I wasn't leading by such a good example.
Oh, that's okay. It looks really nice though. And tell me, what are you cooking for your children at home? Are they having lots of the foods that you make from the book, or is it a variety, or are you a complete Ottolenghi sort of convert and your own book convert?
Thank you. I am for myself a complete Ottolenghi clone, and find it very difficult to cook anything that's not Ottolenghi. And the kids, today we had the turkey and sweet corn meatballs from the first book, which I talked about with Yotam the other day actually on Insta Live. So I don't want people to think I only ever cook one thing for my kids. But at the moment, there's quite a lot of Mary Berry's lasagna going on, quite a lot of risottos, quite a lot of quiche Lorraine. I'm sort of reaching for the Leith's Bible and the Ballymaloe Bible and there's quite an extended crew of us in this house with my brothers and their kids, so there's quite a lot of just feeding the troops. But then I'm a real batch cooker, so on Sunday I'll spend 5 hours getting everything kind of ready as though I'm sort of doing my mise en place. So even though it's not the mother or that I thought I'd be, we're often all eating different things, and it's something that I've battled with over the years, but now I'm more relaxed about it. And as long as we're all eating at the same table at the same time, yeah, I don't mind if the kids are having lasagna and I'm having something different, because I don't.
And this is just to accommodate fussiness or dietary or whatever.
Yeah.
Not fussiness. That's a bit harsh.
I think for years I had one of Theo, my he's 11 now. He used to be a super fussy eater, and I really went through the kind of the negative journey of food where it just all went a bit wrong, and then I just let go and just realized just because it's my love language, it's my way of expressing things, it just wasn't that for him. That just wasn't the deal. So if he can have a happy Mary Berry's lasagna, like he just that's love. So I needed just to pull back and trust that one day they'll realize that I'm eating the tastiest food in the house, and they will join.
Someone's just asking here, this is a tough one, do you have advice for co-writing a book so it flows with one voice, as you say?
Maybe just be the only one writing. I mean, I don't know if you have advice for that.
Well, I think because you spent so much time together and because you're working so close together, it comes naturally. You can't just invent it. You have to be together, and then you start talking the same language, I would say, naturally. And you also give each other ideas, and you bounce off each other. Yeah. And you might disagree, but you come to an agreement that you can sort of word happily. Yeah. That's when I've shared books
I've always
thought
that about because when I was living abroad, I was asked to get involved in a project with someone who was kind of a B, C, D, I don't know what the rank is, celebrity, to write their sort of memoir. And I realized very quickly we just didn't share a language, and it just wasn't going to work. And I felt like a fraud very quickly. So I think the advice for co-authoring is if you've got to be sharing the same language, the same sense of humor, and the same language, and kind of believe in the project and believe that the person you're doing it with is, you know, got as much skin in the game, and I don't think it would work otherwise. Yeah, and you've got to respect them and respect their food. Whereas if you're doing like get into jeans in 10 days, you just know doesn't exist. Yeah. And they might be a celebrity. I'm looking at all my favourite books today and just thinking what connects them. And it's all just people who've got the confidence to be their own voice for all the sort of, whether that introduces chaos or qualification or whatever it is. And I remember the first time I read the Nikki Segner Flavour Thesaurus, it just blew my mind that you're allowed to take this sort of this big subject that she clearly knows so much about, but actually just be funny and light about it. And all my favourite authors, sort of food writers, whether it's Felicity Cloak or MFK Fisher, they've got the confidence to kind of not take it seriously and just be their own voice rather than trying to sort of write cynically.
Yeah, I love a quote that you gave, live large, eat well. Indeed. And I think that's nice because it's just like, be honest and just be yourself and just cook well, eat well, and don't try and be something else, because too many people try and be something else that they're not really. You just have to be honest and strip yourself back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't be scared. Yeah. Can I ask you, favourite kitchen tools? Gadgets, pan.
Favorite kitchen tools.
However simple, it doesn't have to be.
On your list of prepared questions. No, it's got to be my tongs, my long tongs.
Oh, the pincer ones. They're great.
Because I'm always charring aubergines because I'm a baba ganoush addict. So yeah, the long tongs are indispensable. I love my pestle and mortar for garlic. I love my big proper lemon squeezer. That's a great one.
Oh, I love those. I call those Mexican squeezers.
Yeah, fantastic.
Did you? That's a different design. Where did you get that one from? It's not.
Do you know?
Usual.
Actually, your friend bought this back from America.
Okay.
Where is it from? It's from a kitchen shop in America, which is very unhelpful.
Don't worry.
I'm sure David Mellor will sort you out. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And do you have all the same sort of saucepans?
And my griddle too. I love my massive griddle pan.
Okay. So do you keep just collecting kit, or have you got no? I'm full now.
Well, Chris has made me operate a 1 in 1 out policy now. So, although we have just built some shelves. I don't know if you can just see them up there, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, he just he indulges.
He's laughing at you.
He indulges me, but he's put a ban on any more Orla-Kylie sort of pots. That they definitely operate a 1 in 1 out policy now.
Oh, okay. So you're home. And where did you grow up in the UK?
I grew up actually in the house that I'm in now. Did
you?
In South London, in Clapham, yeah.
What, you're living in your family's house?
I messaged Joe last night because when she was talking about Rick Stein, because I remember that he did a Christmas special in our kitchen in the 80s, and he was spraying his turkey with hairspray, and you were talking about kind of how food styling has changed. And she was like, I remember that kitchen. So that was this kitchen. So I sort of moved into mum and dad's home, and then they're next door, and then my brothers are around. So yeah.
So you're the classic extended family, all living within the same neighbourhood almost.
Lockdown as well, in the same compound, in the same place.
Oh yeah, gosh.
So, yeah, lockdown has brought us together. It's lockdown with 13 people and a dog. So hence the lasagnas.
That's a lot of shopping you have delivered to you, or are you going out to the supermarkets?
A bit of both.
Yeah, you have to get out. The mixture, it has to. And you've always loved food as a child. Has the kitchen been the centre of your universe?
Yeah, and I didn't. Yes, I've always eaten a lot and loved food.
You look very small.
But well, no. Actually, Mum gave me and one of my brothers a worming tablet when we were about 16 because she just couldn't believe how much we were. She just thought there was something wrong with us. So me and him can do it. So yeah, always loved food, but I didn't have my culinary sort of epiphany, if you like, until about 10 years ago. Or actually probably about 20 years ago. I got into cooking Ottolenghi food when I was at university, and then but no, the food of my childhood was kind of pork fillets, or the height of sophistication was chicken, which had a bit of pesto and sun-dried tomato in it. It was kind of then wrapped up and then sliced. So that was super smart.
What, wrapped in Parma ham or wrapped in bacon or pastry?
No, that was probably breadcrumbs on the outside, but it had the pesto and the sun-dried tomato. Made Parma ham, good idea.
Oh, do your children cook with you a lot?
Yeah, Scarlett and Casper do. Scarlett's totally taken over pancake duties, and there's a couple of things in Simple that they love, and then they love to make from scratch, and it's great. And there's at the moment we're doing a lot of, there's a lovely silky tomato sauce in Palestine called Banadora, and you start with nice big tomatoes and then you have to peel them. You blanch and peel them. And Scarlett and I are doing a lot of peeling tomatoes at the moment and batch making sauce. And yeah, and then about once every month or so we have something called Round the World, Round the Table, which is when everyone has to indulge my attempts to actually get them to eat more exciting, varied things. And that's a sort of big group cooked together.
And when you do Round the World, do you choose a country and you cook according to that?
Yeah, and it's really, because having let go the sort of the battle, as it were, with Theo, it's funny when we all kind of do it together and make it, and then one of Theo will break off and sort of research some facts, and when they see the effort go in, they completely are more adventurous and willing at that meal than they are generally. So it's just kind of just changing it up, not so often, once every 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah,
that's a really nice thing.
I was talking to Eleanor Ford, the author of Fire Island, which is all about food from Indonesia, and she was saying at the weekends they pick a country and they go abroad and they cook just according to that, and they try and learn a few words and all the rest of her children are tiny. They're much smaller, but I just thought that was such a
also
sweet.
Other people's houses, Scarlett will go to a friend's house and then come back and just be the authority on sushi. It's like, what? You've never had to, so it's kind of other people's other buddies, and we went to Sammy's house once with all the kids, and it's like, right guys, the thing about Sammy's house is it's absolutely immaculate, and like whatever he puts down you have to eat, and they just say absolutely everything, so it's different context too.
Joe's just written something and said, this is Joe Pratt, she's just said, I'll never forget that shoot. It was for Gary Rhodes' Xmas programme. We coated the turkey in wood varnish, Marmite and hairspray.
Absolutely, I remember, and he was in the front drive and had about sort of 6 different shirts on, and his hair was sticking out. I must have been, I don't know, 15 at the time, and just couldn't believe it. And I was thinking, but what about all these people trying to get their Christmas turkey as shiny as Gary Rhodes'?
I know that the world has changed on food styling. I think no one cheats anymore. And I think I remember doing a advert, and we were doing it for a famous rice company, and we had to go into Soho and buy every rice and then chop up bits of vegetables. It was one of those horribles. And I just, halfway through, I said, this is immoral. It's not right. And I was actually asked to leave the set.
Wow.
Because I just said, you can't do this, because people have to open up the bag after they've done whatever with it and put it on a plate and have it a chance of looking like it should. Not there's this and then there's that grey stuff over there.
Yeah.
Completely.
I think it's the same with kind of writing or cookbooks that present a narrative or a story that's just not real. So again, like with Jo's book last night that she was talking about, this idea of just flexible cooking and just the way that people actually do it now. So, and I think our whole model around food is sort of based upon a kind of Victorian notion where there was, everyone sat at the table and the food would somehow arrive. This is just not the way people live. Everyone's just, throwing food on the table and getting Lego out the fruit bowl, whatever they're doing, So
they're just fridge raids and things like that.
Whatever works at this stage.
I think so, absolutely. But I love in Palestine the way that you can just put loads and different dishes on the table, and then everyone grazes according to what they like and what they don't want to have so much. And I think that's a much healthier way, instead of having your meat and 2 vegetables on a plate and there you are, that's your supper.
And it's just a much more relaxing way of cooking and hosting as well, because you can just get it all done. It can sit at room temperature. And the book, that's my big thing. It's all about the practicalities and the logistics. So all the recipes have got kind of little tips about how to get ahead or what you can make ahead or substitutions, because I can't bear the idea of kind of being at the stove and when buddies arrive, I just want it all to be done. And in fact, I wake up super early and I do most of my cooking first thing in the morning, and then it just sits around all day and we eat that at night. And I love room temperature food. It tastes much better anyway.
That's really nice. And you're obviously heading up the kitchen for your table of 14. And so it's your domain, and you're busy cooking and holding it all together.
We're not every meal is all of us, But my brother's much better at eating leftovers than Chris and I. So we kind of do first round and then they come in for second round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now listen, I asked you for your favourite film. And
so
you
stole it.
She did, but you mentioned some others.
I mean, so many actually. After food, my great love is film. Chris and I met in the cinema, and actually, there's a great scene in the film that we met in. There was this trilogy of films called Blue, Red, and Red, the Kieslowski films, and there was the scene where Juliette Binoche is, she's in such a kind of bleak blue place, but she sits in this cafe and just has a scoop of vanilla ice cream with the affogato coffee, and that's just a beautiful scene. But I mean, so many. We saw Parasite the other day with that kind of epic scene at the end where the food is kind of flying and everyone's just going for it.
I love your reference to food film When Harry Met Sally. I suppose there was an egg on the table.
But actually, Nora Ephron, because she did. Yeah, I mean, Heartburn is such a beautiful book. So she really fused literature and films and food. They were obviously her three real passions.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, listen, it's been brilliant meeting you, and thanks so much, Tara, for joining us. And everyone, you just need to order your book, Palestine, that's been co-written by Tara and Sammy, because Tara was brought in to make it work in your homes, and because she is a mum and she's busy cooking for home cooks, and so it's a great book. It looks fantastic.
It does, and it sits alongside Jerusalem, like they're a really nice pair together.
They're beautiful, the covers,
and it just sort of just looks really they look beautiful together alongside, and it's just a strong message.
It's a really strong message, and I definitely have my copy, and I'm very happy. Sorry, I'm not holding it up here, but you're launching in America next month, aren't you, as well?
June the 16th, yeah, which is really exciting.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. So wishing you all the very best of luck, and thanks you very much.
Really nice to talk to you. Hope to
it's
see you
really nice to talk to you. And everyone, join us tomorrow, because we've got the Sunday Times food writer Rosie Burkett who's joining us, which will be very exciting. So you can ask her questions. Okay, thank you, Tara. Bye.
Bye-bye.